I'm Paul.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the People's Podcast. I am your host, Paul Vibes, local motivational speaker. Our show is all about spirituality, self-development, connection, wellness. Please be sure to subscribe and follow us on a variety of different social media pages. If you know somebody that would be a great guest to our show or sponsor, please reach out. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Paul Vibes here. Welcome to another video podcast. I got Katelyn and Annemarie. Welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Paul. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I've been watching you. We've only met once at the Island Cava. Shout out to that amazing place. We've only met once, but I've been following you on social media, and we've been meeting to connect. You do some amazing workshops. You have amazing coaching, and your posts are always inspiring and engaging. So I'm very privileged and thankful that you're on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
And I feel like in this time right now that we're going through as a collective, I think it's more important than ever to have people like yourself on the show to share your insights and your experiences and the different challenges you've been through. But more importantly, like how do we, transform ourselves and get through this challenging situation? And before we went live, we're like, what are we going to talk about? There's so much that we could talk about and should talk about. And I could have you on every week, honestly. Is you mentioned something about like coming into your power and the stigmas around that and the challenges that come with that. And I think there's a lot of people, I would agree, that are afraid of that. Do you want to kind of unpack that? Why was that the theme that you wanted to talk about today?
Yeah. So I think just to give context, my name is Katelyn, and I do business coaching, and I infuse Ayurveda, which is a sister science of yoga, as well as yogic philosophy, life coaching, hypnosis, all kinds of holistic modalities. And so a lot of what I do is support people as they step into their role as a leader. And this isn't a one-time step. This is a step and then step again and keep moving forward, right? It's a practice of embodiment. And sometimes we get shaken. And through that shaking, we get kind of a little bit out of ourselves, a little bit out of our alignment. And right now, the whole world is being shaken up, right? Again, to give context, we are currently in New York, and the COVID-19 pandemic is underway. And it's pretty challenging for a lot of people. And with this challenge, we were talking before about how there's also a lot of shifts that we're being asked to make. And as we get, pose these questions of, well, how do we move forward? We have a choice. We can move forward with negativity or fear, or we can move forward with love and trust and surrender. And talking about leadership and talking about stepping into your power is really about that. It's about loving yourself and loving the world and the greater good, trusting yourself and moving forward despite the challenges.
And you're great at that. I feel like, watching you, you're someone who just radiates not just positive vibes, but like confidence. Like you're a grounded woman, you're making things happen. And it must be amazing. I see you do a lot of working with different workshops and clients. When you work with these individuals, what kind of transformation do you see happening when you're kind of, like saying working one-on-one or giving these workshops? How do you describe that feeling when you're able to make an impact with all those modalities that you mentioned?
Well, thank you, number one. And two, yeah, it's, to summarize it is a little challenging, right? Because we are multidimensional human beings. So sometimes somebody comes to me and they say, all right, I haven't started my business yet, or I know I want to launch this online program and I don't know how. Sometimes people come to me and they've been in their business for a year, 2 years, and they're not making any money. And oftentimes this is an energetic block, or this is a mindset thing. There's a certain percentage of this that, yes, we need to be educated on marketing and business. And then there's a huge portion of it that is inner work. So when I work with people, it's to see somebody, a client came to me the other day and she was so excited because she had this big win in her business. She signed a client for 6 months at $10,000. huge for her, huge. And especially at the time we're in, because there's a lot of talk about a recession and a lot of talk about scarcity. And she's showing up and she's attracting abundance. And the beautiful thing about this win was that it wasn't about the money, but it was about she gets to still do this work despite the odds, and she gets to serve people. And I think the biggest thing for me witnessing that is knowing that this causes this client of mine to believe in themselves even more. And if she can believe in herself
Mhm.
and, sign one client for 6 months, how much change is that going to make?
Mm,
And what is the ripple effect, right? If I help her, she helps two more people or three more people. Those people each help three more people. And now we have this ripple effect of positivity and light.
wow. I could totally relate to that. And it's so true. And you see people unfortunately fall into the opposite. And it's, like the saying, we were talking about this yesterday with my other guest, where attention flow, energy, where energy goes, attention flows, something like that, right? Where
Mhm.
attention goes, energy flows, right? So wherever you're focusing on, that's what's going to be manifesting, happening. And, I make this funny analogy. It's like some people that go into a parking lot and they automatically think, there's not going to be any parking spots. I'm not going to be able to park. I'm not going to be able to get a spot. And I'm thinking to myself, why would you even think that? Even if it's true, I'm like, that's just negative thinking. I'm always like, there's always going to be a spot, and there's always going to be an opportunity in life. There's always going to be a positive outcome, a positive outlook. And in this time more than ever, I feel like we need to have that positive mindset. And like you kind of mentioned, there's like that ripple effect, which is so important, right? We're on this show together. One person might watch us and come follow you and may need you for your services, and somebody may follow me. And it's like, it creates a ripple effect. That is so true. I really like that.
Mm. Yeah.
It's good
Yeah,
stuff.
powerful. I mean, and we each have the ability to make an impact. And so that's, when we experience something as big as we are now, right? Like the entire world is being touched by this experience. And I think to not speak about it would be an injustice, because
Hmm.
we're just bypassing it. But if we speak about it, then we can actually choose our own wording for it. We can take our power back in this scenario and we can say, okay, I'm in quarantine. I can't really like leave my house or go hug my family or my friends
Hmm.
right now. But I can do this and I can do this and I can do this. Right. And so many people, when they're thinking negatively, it's the opposite. It's I can't. Right. They put themselves in their own prison cell. They put the key in the pocket and they say they have no idea how to get out. It's not true.
So true. I think I was mentioning to you before we went live is that, speaking of business and manifesting and working on yourself, I had 2 paid speaking gigs for April. And of course, it's disappointing to know that obviously those talks are canceled, and in-person talks. But what they do, they reached out to me and said, listen, we still want to have you come in once this clears up, but can you do a Zoom video for us? Whether if it's filmed beforehand and uploaded, or do a Zoom call with some of my students. I was like, absolutely. And even I had to cancel. I had about 10 different guests that were supposed to come here on the 29th, and that had to be canceled. So what did I say? I put a post on Facebook and I was like, I need to do this through Zoom. And here we are. So, it's taking something that was one time perceived as a negative and turn into a positive. And you seem like someone that, like, no matter who you're working with, you can help take, their negatives or even the challenges that they're going through, and switch it into a learning experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just laughing because I can't tell you how often I get from people like, did you really just make that a positive?
This experience definitely. I want to talk to you about that. I really want to talk to you, get your input. I really respect your advice and what how you feel about things. What do you think are some of the real positive things? You mentioned a few earlier, but it's in times like this that a lot of people get very, very negative. They get their anxiety goes up, their depression goes up, and a lot of the times for very valid and sound reasons why it's happening. But how can we slowly shift the perspective of the different people? Because I think people like you and I, it's a little bit easier for us to, where we always try to find the bright side, even though I'm sure we have our rough days as well. But how do we slowly get those people to look at this experience, whether it's issues that they're going on an individual level, or it's when they're looking at the news in the world, and it's just like they feel everything's falling apart? How do we really help those people?
I'm happy you used a very key word in that,
Hmm.
which was slowly. because
Mhm.
we could rush into changing the world, but that's not going to create sustainable change. And when we rush into things, we also miss beautiful opportunities for creating long lasting change.
Mhm.
And so the people who, struggle to see the light in this, the people who are really in the darkness right now, it's some of this is going to come off harsh. I'll give a warning.
That's why I invited you. This is the we're keeping it real and honest right now.
Yeah. And I say this as somebody who's not untouched by this challenge. I have a mom who's working in the ICU. She's managing an ICU that's a designated COVID unit, and
Wow.
is witnessing some really dark things right now. And luckily for me, I have a really strong mother. And so she comes home, she releases, her emotions are valid. And I say this because I hope that whoever's listening recognizes what you're feeling is valid, right? There's no shame in feeling, completely distanced from it. There's no shame in feeling locked or a prisoner to it. It's valid. Where you are is valid. And I think that when we validate our emotions, it actually takes, the power that was in the emotion is now gifted back to you, because you are choosing to let the emotion exist rather than let the emotion run your life and control you. So that's
Mhm.
that's number one, is just allow it to be validated. And so I think this is also a really important conversation because, like I said, we all have our own experience with this. We're all, untouched by this pandemic. And it's, in a way, it's a blessing, because now more than ever, we have compassion for our fellow human beings, because every person on the street is touched by this. And it's not simply that there are things behind closed doors, right? It's everywhere. We know it. You can't go to the supermarket and not think about it.
Mm.
Can't.
Yeah,
You
because
can be in quarantine.
your phone. You can't even look at your phone or anything. It's everywhere. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, you could be in quarantine and not think about it. I'm somebody who works from my computer and works from my home the majority of the time. So, for anybody who's already experienced that, it's very easy to stay in that space and just not turn on the news or not go out. But for the most part, you really can't avoid it. And so it's important to know that your feelings are valid, whether you are feeling very excited in this time or very down in this time. And from that space, so there's kind of like this emotional ranging chart, and it's also tied to frequencies, right? So for those of you who are more into energy and spirituality, it may resonate with you. And for those of you who, just are like, this is my emotion, what the hell do I do with it? It would also support you in that. But basically, it goes from like the most challenging emotions, right? Like deep rooted anger, like
Mhm.
so much pain. And then it works its way up, and the middle part is boredom. And if you can get yourself from really, really challenged and really low to
Mhm.
boredom, that's a victory, right? So that's kind of the goal, is if you're feeling any which way, get yourself to boredom, or let yourself rest, right? Let yourself rest at this time, because we're also being asked to do that. I'm kind of ranting at this point, but there's a
Oh,
lot to say about this.
a lot. I mean, I have a lot of things I want to talk about what you just mentioned. And speaking of resting, what are your thoughts on this idea? I've been hearing it a lot, and it really does make sense. The idea of the resting, the planet needs a rest from all the busyness. I told you I was watching an Eckhart Tolle video, and he was talking about that, how we're so used to the busyness and the busyness. And in the spiritual community, we talk a lot about the inward movement and the outward movement. The outward movement to create and hustle and run to point A to point B, and the inward movements to like meditate and to manifest and to think about things and have reflect on your life and learn and then do things differently. And for me, I really believe, like you said, this is definitely an opportunity to learn. And what are your thoughts on with the environment and the planet? What's happening here in that realm? Because it seems like a lot of healing. You see oceans and different rivers and ponds are clearer. The sky is clear. People are being more in tune with their diet and the food they eat. What's your thoughts on that?
Mm. I think that one thing that's been coming forward is that the entire planet is focused on the same frequency right now, and that is the frequency of healing and well being. So everything that we're thinking about is rooted right back to that point of how can I heal? How can I take care of my well-being?
Mm.
And that may be financially, right? A lot of people lost their jobs. So they're thinking, how can I make money? Right? So it's actually forcing us all to come into a space of finding solutions. And like I said before, if you're moving all the time, if you're in that external place constantly, like we do need to be in an external place. Like we're in human bodies. We have to be real. As spiritual as we can be, we also have to be mindful that a lot of the spiritual texts that we study were written by people who were renunciates. And we're just not that. We're just not. Most of us. Some of you might be monks, and that's great. But
Now's the time to be a monk, though, if you want to be a monk. I mean, listen, we all be exiled and live in a mountain somewhere. And this doesn't sound too bad right now, right?
Yeah, we're kind of all enjoying the privileges of being renunciates right now.
So true.
Luxurious renunciates.
Exactly. We're very lucky. Listen, we got food, we got shelter. Hopefully, most people watching this do have those things, right?
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so again, I mean, we're all in the same frequency right now, which has pretty much never happened. Never happened, right? We've all spoken different languages, we've all been from different countries, and we've never, as an entire population, as humans, billions of people, been focused on the same goal, and that is healing and well-being. So yeah, so people are going and trying to find the answer, and the answer is all around us right now. I think the other powerful thing, so like I said before, a lot of what I do is support people with getting their businesses online. I cannot tell you how many people have been blocking themselves from doing that. And now with this experience, they're fully activated. Like I actually had to launch a new course simply because I had so many people reaching out that were activated. I needed to accommodate them to help them get their programs online. And luckily,
Congratulations for that. Congratulations. No,
yeah.
that's amazing. I mean, it's so obviously the circumstances might be challenging, but there's obviously a shift happening to this online realm. And it's amazing that you saw a niche, you saw a need, and then you created a service for the community to fulfill that. That's awesome. Really cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that workshop? And if I upload this in time, we'll definitely share the links to it. Do you want to talk a little bit about what it entails and what you're going to be doing in that workshop?
I would love to. Yes. And hopefully it does reach people before April 4th, because that's when I'm closing the doors. But
Hint,
if
Paul,
not,
make sure you get it done.
note to Paul. No, but it's something that I've been wanting to run for a while now. And it's going to come back. It'll be back. I'll run another round of it in the summer and probably another round of it in the fall. But It's a 6-week activation. It's very much like, all right, you know your purpose. You're ready to get some work online. You're ready to just start messy and just get your light out there, because the world needs so much light right now. So all of these people who have been doubting themselves, all of these people who have been like, I don't know how to start an online course, I'm not sure I need it yet. A lot of them, one, they're losing a lot of their income. They want to find a new way to make money. 2, they're realizing how much they can decrease their carbon footprint by getting online. 3, they're realizing how easy it is to access people and how supportive it can be for their clients to have things online.
I meant to sign up. I might have to sign up right now.
Yeah.
Sign up right now. I gotta get the vibe special or something. I don't know.
Oh, it's gonna be so good. So good. I've been creating content like crazy, breaking down prompts for people and different flow charts and things so that they can create their course. They can, hone in on their niche and their method, and then showing them different platforms and marketing processes that they can infuse very simply and easily. And one of the things that I believe in is authentic leadership. I don't believe in icky marketing and DMing people, hey, I have something on sale right now, do you want to join it? I don't preach about that. I really believe that if it's your soul's mission, it's your soul's work, all you need to do is create the structure, which is understanding marketing and course structure and putting the platform online, and you'll be magnetic. In my whole business is organic marketing. I have never paid for ads. I've never needed to be that weird person in people's inbox, 24-hour sale.
Oh God, those are the worst. Those are the worst. Well, you definitely speaking of genuine, I just want to add, when I met you, you definitely came across as a very genuine person. And speaking of genuineness, it's funny because people, when they hear that I speak and they've seen me give talks out there, like, I don't know how you do it. And as you know, people are more fearful of public speaking than they are of death, which is scary, but I can see how it's true. People are really scared of public speaking and not public, maybe not just public speaking, but they may be also very fearful of stepping into their power and doing something that's kind of different, but they know that they should be doing. And for me, speaking and giving talks at school is something I know in my core, like every cell of my body, I know I want to do it because it's something I'm very passionate about. And for me, it happened so organically because I created a non-for-profit for the special needs community. I would go around to different like high school clubs and meetings with parents and talk about this club to bring new members in. And parents and young adults would come up to me, and I wasn't even looking at it as a motivational talk. I was just sharing the story of how I created my organization. And people would come up to me, and during that talk, I would talk about how I overcame a learning disability, and I had my minor brain damage from being choked in the umbilical cord, and it kind of put me on this path where I found myself through volunteer work. So when I started giving this story, people would come up to me and be like, "Oh my God, that was inspiring. Can you come speak to my special needs classroom? Or can you talk to my son? He's also going through a disability or challenge." And I kind of, like you were mentioning, I had to step into that power of like, wow, okay, I was able to create this impact with the Buddy Club. Now my mission is to have young adults create their own change within the community. So that might not be doing anything with the special needs community. That might be making their own positive change within the community. So I just had to say that because I resonated a lot what you said about kind of stepping into your power and also just being a genuine leader.
Yeah, and I think that's really where we're heading. There's so many big shifts, and I really believe that part of this is that we're completely changing. We're changing everything. The world is never going to be the same, but um, we're also changing the way that we look at businesses, like
Mm.
drastically changing it. And I mean, Amazon is starting to step into this role as being like a part of the greater good. They opened up 100,000 new jobs. They donated a bunch of money. They're giving away like gift cards like crazy. I think if you put a certain amount of things in your cart right now, they're giving you like gift cards. So we're seeing more of that, more of this cause focused initiative. But I think to speak to what you said is um, the people who they find themselves being blocked. They struggle to get into their leadership role. They struggle to either trust themselves or feel confident enough. The thing that switches for the person who goes from that point A to point B, which is like you're doing, like you're hosting a podcast. When you show up into a room, you give your business card, you talk about what you do. It's because your mission is bigger than your fear. And that's what the switch is.
I like that. That's good. Sign me up. I'm gonna sign up for everything you're doing. All your work. Sign me up right now. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because when I started my business, it was just like I was creating sacred spaces for women. A lot of my programs were super intimate, and we'd go into, we'd do some deep shadow work. And that's another thing that has shifted over the last year is that it was kind of like men needed their sacred space to connect with like all the parts of the masculine energy and heal
Mm.
masculine wounds, and women needed sacred spaces to heal the feminine wounds. And now we're seeing that there's such a large demographic of people that have been doing the work that we're now ready to come together completely and to do the work together without projecting as much. Not everybody, of course, like we're not perfect as a society, but there's more people that are ready to do that and to feel safe and create sacred space with both men and women without having a perception about the other gender, which is
Yeah.
really powerful.
That is so true. And I've always been, it's funny because the last, I think, 4 podcasts have all been amazing young women. And it just kind of worked out that way. It wasn't like I was seeking only women. And for me personally, I've always been in touch with my feminine side because I think that, and what I mean by feminine side, I mean by, expressing myself, sharing my emotions, not letting things get bottled up. I've always grew up with a lot of strong females in my life. And I always say this, like I don't think I'd be the person I am today without all the amazing women in my life. And for me, that always confused me. when I would see, all the guys hang out all the time, they wouldn't really have many friends that are women, and they wouldn't associate it and intertwine with other people. I was like, why are we all just hanging out? Like, I'm the type of person, I think, I met you, like, I'm approaching everybody. I'm talking to everybody. I'm not acting different, but I'm talking to a man than I am talking to a female. You know what I mean? And I feel like you are seeing a breakdown of those barriers between the sexes. And I'm happy to hear that you are starting to do both more and more. But I do agree, though. I think that I can see a lot of benefits in having a women's circle. You see a lot of spiritual teachers, they have like their women's circles. And I think that also is important as well.
Yeah. Yeah, all of them are valid. All of them are valid. And again, the same thing. It's we're focusing on the healing. We're really putting the healing as a priority and creating the container from that perspective. What's going to create the most healing for people? Beautiful.
That's good. You do a lot of healing, and I appreciate you. Besides the different workshops, I know you have a training coming up. For the people watching this, maybe share a little bit about the different services and how that would look. How would it look like? What would it look like if someone hired you to do one-on-one coaching or these different, virtual Zoom calls? What can they expect from your services?
Yeah, great question. So I've been in business. It'll be 2 years in May. Yay! So that'll be
Only 2 years?
Yeah.
I would think that you come across like you've been doing this for a long time. That's all amazing. But yeah, really cool.
Thank you. Well, I've been doing reflections of this work for about 6 years now. So started off my career by publishing a children's book, and then that brought me into marketing, and then that brought me into having more freedom. I started working for startups and working from home, so I had more freedom. So I started studying diving deeper into yoga. I got my certification. I started teaching yoga, and then I was doing all the things. And then about 2 years ago, I was like, what if I just put all of them in one package? So essentially what I do now is I help people understand their own unique genetic blueprint. And that's through the perception of a study called Ayurveda, which is a over 5,000-year-old medical system. It's a sister science of yoga. So a lot of the way we practice yoga is done through the perception of healing, right? And Ayurveda teaches us how to actually figure out what the formula is. And so nobody's really infused Ayurveda into business before, but as I was teaching the two separately, I realized how many business owners were actually struggling with misalignment, with imbalances in their system, and those were being reflected into their businesses. So what I do now is I have a couple different ways that I work with people. I have Aligned Launch Accelerator, which is starting a week from today, April 4th. That's going to be the first round, and then I'll run other rounds after this. And then I also have a signature group program called the Soul Line Business Academy, which is very much about how you can build out your business and build it in a sustainable way. And that's more of like a deep dive into who you are, how you lead. It helps you break through those energetic blocks that you might experience around money or selling or serving people or being seen. There's all these things that come up. And then I also have one-to-one, and I host retreats. So I have a retreat in November. We're going to Tulum, Mexico.
Oh my God. For the people watching, I saw some of the pictures of your retreat. I was like, oh my God. Right. I was like, invite me, let me film it. I'll record the whole thing. I'll be a personal video guy. I'll bring my equipment. I got my 3 GoPros. Amazing. You radiate good energy, and I definitely could see myself getting involved in some of your workshops. I'm going to make sure I get this episode out there so people can sign up, hopefully, for your workshop. And as you close up, we're not ending yet, but I just want to ask, people watching this, what is something that you want people to walk away with? What is something that you want people to leave this podcast with? Is it like a signature thing you like to talk about or say, or just feeling in the moment that you want people to kind of, walk away from and kind of sit with?
Yeah.
I put you on the spot there, but.
It's all good. What's the spot anyway,
Spot in your house right there. It's nice.
Yeah. I think just acknowledge that you're powerful beyond measure, that you can really impact the planet, and that we each now more than ever are being asked to step into our roles, right? We each have a unique gift, a sacred gift that we've been given, divinely crafted for us. And it's not like anybody else's, right? So don't go looking outside of yourself.
Mm.
Um, but really look within and find and hone in on it. And from that, share it and let it be messy.
Mm.
It's not going to be perfect. If you wait till it's perfect, you will never share your gift. You will never complete your dharma, right? And that's really what we're here for. We each have a mission on this planet, and it's our responsibility to step into it and to share it. And you know kind of going back to like this tangent of what the world is experiencing now, I think a lot of people are waking up to their purpose. I think a lot of people have been in 9 to 5s or have been in jobs that they hate, and they've actually been gifted an opportunity to not be in that space.
Mm.
And some of them, as crazy as it sounds, they've been gifted an opportunity to be laid off. And now they can ask themselves, what do I really want to do?
Yeah,
What do I really want to do?
yeah, that's so true. You see a lot of readjusting, and I feel like spiritual friends of mine and coaches like yourself are either already busier than you've ever been, or you're going to be busier than you've ever been. So you better hold on to something, because people are realizing that the way that we've been living life isn't working. The way that we've been treating the environment isn't working. Foods that we're eating isn't working. The energy that we put out isn't working, and there's a shift happening. And you see, I said a lot of my spiritual friends and teachers are starting to get busier than they ever have been, because people are like, listen, I need to try something different. I need to change it up. The foundation that I've been living on is not very grounded. If you build a foundation and a house on sand, it's not going to be very stable when challenges come. So I'm really thankful that you're on this planet. I'm thankful that we're friends. I'm very thankful that you offer amazing services. And I am just very happy and thankful, and I'm excited to see where you go and where all your clients go. And I highly recommend to any of my friends who watch this to go check you out and follow you on Instagram. And can you maybe share a little bit about the different social media pages? Where can people find you and connect with you?
Yeah, thank you. And I love that about not building on sand, but really building on a strong foundation.
Yes. You
Yeah.
definitely help with that. I could tell right away. You remind me of a tree, a grounded tree. Like this, a tree.
I'm an earth sign. I'm a Taurus, so that's that's part of that.
Well, you definitely grounded. And thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think we could go on and talk about building a foundation
Yeah, you
really
want to talk about that before?
for
You know what?
so long.
Listen, I'm serious. I could have you on every other week if you wanted to come on. I love talking to you. But talk about that. Yeah, what does that mean to you before we share your social media and where people can find you? Talk about uh, what that means to you, and how do we become more grounded?
Mm. The first thing that comes to mind is your value system. What do you really prioritize? I think that this is something that we don't visit too often. Like, how often do you sit down and write your top 5 values in order of what's most important to
Right
you?
now. I think I need
Yeah.
to now. I should.
Side note, this is a prompt. Pause the recording.
Recording. Seriously, if you're watching this right now at home, write your 5. Yeah, so continue.
Yeah, and there's also this really great practice. It's Japanese. It's called the ikigai, and it's spelled Ikigai. And this is something that I highly recommend to anybody who's like finding their way, or just starting out their business, or you've been doing your business for a while and you know that there's something more. It's something that I use at very pivotal times. And it's revisiting this practice of looking at what you're good at doing, what you like to do, what you can get paid to do, right? What you can be honored for doing, essentially, and also what the world needs. And it's actually it's a chart. So it's, how each of them come together are your purpose. And I think that this is really important. Another key practice is the four Purusharthas, and this is a yogic philosophy. Understanding of how your purpose, your dharma, comes together with your liberation, your spiritual liberation, emotional, mental, and it also ties together with your wants and your needs. So imagining that as each one is 25%. Your wants are 25%, your needs are 25%. Most of the time we focus on our wants and needs, and we put our mission to the side, or we put our spiritual liberation to the side, or the latter. We focus too much on the mission because we want to be martyrs and save the world, and then we can't feed ourselves. So those two practices and understanding your value system, I think, are key necessities to building your foundation. And then there's a whole bunch of other things. I mean, I infuse the elements in the way that I perceive business. And so there's all kinds of other stuff, like your mission statement and your branding, and like all of this stuff that's kind of like the jump off point for you to really start building on top of, right? Like, you're not going to build on sand, you're going to build on a strong foundation. And that foundation, you need to cultivate it over and over again. You don't build it once, you continue to cultivate it.
Definitely. It's interesting because you see so many people, they focus either on the business aspect or the spiritual aspect. It's very rare where you see someone who incorporates as well as you do, because obviously incorporating, like you said, the sister teaching of yoga and Ayurvedic, right? And to incorporate that into business, that's super cool. I'm very interested in seeing how you do that, because that's where you find the most complaints are, when they're too focused on one or the other. And that's when imbalance happens, right? Because you're too focused on business and making money, you kind of lose that spiritual, wholesome aspect. But then when you're too into the spirituality, you're not going to be able to feed yourself. I see so many friends that you could ask for a donation fee for an event you're doing, and they're going to be like, "Why is there a fee, man? Why?" Because we gotta pay for the electricity, we gotta pay. And I sometimes like laugh at people like that. And you get other people where it's like they nickel and dime, they penny, everything's a charge, and charging you, talking to you, and charging you for the air, and it's like too much. And I think when you were able to incorporate the two, and just to give an example of that, as I've been giving some speaking engagements, I'm just starting off. So if I'm giving a talk at a non-for-profit, I'm not going to charge them. If they don't have a budget, I'm not going to charge them. I do it because I'm passionate about it. But what's funny, when I go in that philosophy of open-mindedness, doing it because I'm passionate about it, what will happen, I'm noticing, is I'm giving these free talks, and then they call me afterwards. We want to pay you for the next one. And it's amazing, because if I went in there with the mindset of, listen, I really need to be paid for this gig, even if it's $50, I need to get paid for this gig, I think that would turn them off. I'm doing it because I'm coming from a place of just giving, and I just want to do it. And I think the universe rewards people like that. Like I said, I got that phone call. Hey, you did such a great gig. We know you didn't ask for anything. We know we don't have a budget, but we just found some money that we can give you for a next gig. Would you mind coming back in? And it's things like that that keep reassuring me that it is really important, like you said, to bring the spirituality into the business, right? Because when you have one or the other, you're unbalanced. So I think that's amazing that you incorporate those things into your trainings. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's definitely been a really powerful perspective shift for me, and for a lot of the people that I work with. Because again, a lot of the times when a business isn't working, it's because you're leaning to one side more than the other, or you're just simply missing something. But if we can blend the two together and set a priority to keep coming back to the roots, then it becomes so much easier to build a business. And I've been really privileged, or lucky, or whatever you want to call it, because growing this business has been very, very simple for me. And not to say that there haven't been challenges. Like I had a health challenge in the fall, and I kind of was like, okay, I don't want to work with anybody right now. Like, I just want to go hide in my room. I'm having some hard times. But the business itself has done incredibly well because of the way that I've approached it. And again, I have clients that have come back to work with me again and again because they know that they're going to be seen fully, and they're not able to kind of hide behind a algorithm or hide behind a strategy. But when the strategy is not working, it's because of your energy. When the algorithm doesn't work, it's because of your energy. when your energy is not working, it's because you're too in the air and not attached to a point where you're not prioritizing getting food on your table or paying to keep the lights on.
We definitely come across as no BS, no gimmicks. That's what I like about you. You have a great following online that I'm very impressed with. I've only been doing Instagram really since November, and I can see not just about the followers, but how really engaging you are with your followers. You're not just posting something to get a lot of likes. Like everything is there's a lot of content. It's it's dense. There's a lot to unpack in these posts and these things, and it's very insightful. And you could tell that when you're doing it with love and those positive vibes that I like to see. So I wanted to ask you, where can people find you as we kind of wrap up? Where can people find you, whether it's your website or social media pages? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, I'll share that now. Now that we've touched all the important
Honestly,
topics.
I could talk to you for 4 hours. I want to get you back on in bite-sized pieces from my audience. We'll definitely get you back on if you would honor that and come back.
Yeah, I'd love to, and maybe your community can give us some feedback or places they'd like me to dive more into, and we can do something more laser focused. But today was really powerful, so thank you.
Thank you.
And I host a lot of things. I do like IGTVs, and I put a lot of content on Instagram. So lots of inspirational stuff, lots of educational stuff. So if you want to dive more into some of this, then you can find me on Instagram. I'm sure it'll be in the show links, but my handle is Katelyn Annemarie with an underscore at the end. And I also have a really great Facebook community that I think many of the people who enjoyed this would really like. And it's called the Soulpreneur Sisterhood. So it's entrepreneur plus soul combined. And I'll send you the link for that as well. But that's where I do free trainings every week. And the topics, again, they vary from a 30-minute training on marketing, a 30-minute training on how to attract clients, to a 30-minute training on how to be a leader in chaotic times on our planet, or how to really tap into your light and shine it a bit brighter. So wide array there. And yeah, and if you're in the Facebook group, you can also find my personal Facebook and be friends, and let me know if there's any way I can support you.
Very cool. Well, again, thank you for coming on. I would love to have you on in a couple weeks. There's so much that I feel like we could talk about. There definitely won't be any dull moments with you. And I will definitely try to get this out soon. And like you said before, you have a workshop coming up, which I'm going to be sure to get this out. So if my friends or family or whoever's watching this want to go check out that workshop, I'll have all the links in the description. So again, thank you so much for coming on. Sending you lots of love and good vibes.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Peace.
Bye, everyone.